Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End, Sri Lanka cricket we gon' represent. So tell a friend.
Hi everyone, welcome to Murali End. My name's Mark Machado. I'm joined by Estelle Vasu Devon. This show is sponsored by Kid Rated. Do check it out, kidrated.com. There's loads of great offers for things to do with your children. They don't need to be young children. If my parents are listening, either of them, I'll happily go to Madame Tussauds or any of the other great attractions in London. I haven't been up the London Eye in about 20 years. Anyway, that aside, it's a very sad day for us at the Murali End because Sri Lanka have suffered yet another defeat in the Women's Cricket World Cup. It was a wet, damp day in Colombo. The game kind of got rushed on in the last few minutes it possibly could have been done, and Sri Lanka lost. In the end, it ends up being quite a heavy loss to South Africa. But I mean, I can never think of any day of cricket I've watched where one team has had so little luck. Absolutely nothing has went for us in any way, shape, or form today. Me and Estelle are going to get into that. If you want to leave your comments, please do. We might, if people want to come on and have a little vent about it and be a bit upset about it. I know it's quite late in Colombo now. And I don't know what time it is in Australia. It must be about 3 a.m. or something. But if you do want to come on, and it's Friday night as well, I'm aware of that. So there'll be people heading towards lockers in nightclubs in Sri Lanka to unlock those single malts. And boy, do we need it today. But if you do want to come on, we might let you do that. Have a chat with us in the comments. Tell us what you think. Estelle, you were at the Grand today. Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling right now and how the day kind of panned out for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the Sri Lankan perspective, it's very, very disappointing, isn't it? Because it's a day where you thought you're not going to get a game. And I don't mean that Sri Lanka would have been looking forward to not getting a game, but they were seriously disadvantaged by the fact that, the innings was cut short and they ultimately had to, defend 120 of 20 overs, which is always going to be tough. And I think mentally also, probably for both sides, right? Like when you are almost certain that you're not going to have a game, and suddenly you have to just, pick yourself up and get into the game, can't be easy. So disappointing. I think this is one of those matches where, like, you have to put it down to luck. I know South Africa won by 10 wickets. I know none of the Sri Lankan bowlers looked like they were going to pick up wickets, but I think it's purely like this game is purely the result purely based on just being unlucky on the day, not their day. It just everything kind of panned out in a way that it was they were at they got the short end of the stick. So what can you do, right?
So for me, I think the first thing I want to moan about is it makes no sense when there is such thing as a T20 World Cup, which is a 20 over game, and we are not in that. We're in a 50 over World Cup, and I get we've lost overs, but surely you could just play 21 overs, like that. Like just that extra in over just doesn't make it a T20 game, right? Because people are going to come back to this scorecard in years to come and be like, what the hell happened? Charming got 11 for 25 in a 20 over match. And it's like, no, it wasn't a 20 over game. It was a 50 over game. She didn't realize at that point that it was going to become a 20 over game, right? The way we've got to Sri Lanka's total, which ends up being 105 of 7 in the 20 overs, is just wrong. Like, it's just, to me, morally, I just don't know how I imagine, look, those South African players look like decent people, good human beings. Feel like there's an asterisk on this win today, because it's just all wrong, isn't it? At this stage, there's a very distinct way and method to play in T20 cricket from ODI cricket, and South Africa, when they come into bat, have a totally, like, I know they've got to make 1-2-1, but that is totally different to what Sri Lanka have started out their innings as. And I just think it's immoral. It's immoral, Estelle. I think today Sri Lanka won the moral World Cup.
World champions.
Yeah. They're gonna
No,
have to
I
play the
just think
England
like
side
yeah,
next
it's
week.
really unfair, and I think a lot of people brought up some points after the Pakistan England game as well, right? Which was rain affected, and
Yeah.
unfortunately there wasn't a result. And people were talking about they should have just let England play 20 overs, and then you know, at the end of the day there are a set of rules and regulations in place, and they follow that. And some teams are disadvantaged, but at the end of the day everyone just wants a result, right? Like, so today's game, at the end of the day you want a result. Unfortunately, Sri Lanka were on the receiving end, but I will say part of it is their fault. Why did they bat first? I'm not saying this in hindsight, but
Yeah.
I will give you the rundown of things, right? So when they played England, Sri Lanka won the toss, opted to chase. England got, I can't remember how many runs they got. 250? Yeah, 259, right?
Yeah.
Something like that, right? And that was a full game. Sri Lanka tried to chase and they lost. And there was some criticism because you're playing at the R. Premadasa. Chasing is not easy. And even a total like 230, 240 is actually quite challenging under lights, especially because these women don't play under lights, right? So there was some criticism. Um, and somebody asked Rumesh about it at the pre-match press conference before one of the next games. And his point was that it was purely tactical. Now, it's going to be a really long run, right? Firstly, I don't think it was purely tactical because we have seen that Sri Lanka have a preference to chase, right? Like this women's team, we've seen that they have a preference to chase, and that is something that they have chased well, but particularly in T20 cricket, right? So I do not agree with the fact that it was purely tactical. So his point on why it was tactical was because there was rain expected, and therefore we know that batting second is an advantage when the match is rain affected, particularly in situations like this where the first innings is kind of interrupted in the middle. Like if you have 50 overs and then it's interrupted, it's a different story. But particularly when it's interrupted like this, you are at a big advantage when you have to chase, right? So that is what he said before I think it was before the New Zealand game. Then you come to the New Zealand game, Sri Lanka win the toss, rain is forecast. It has been raining every single day of this week from at least 6 p.m. onwards, and it has not been stopping. Rain is forecast. What do? They bat first. So then there itself, that tactical whatever process, they have rethought it and gone back to trying to bat first because it's our Premadasa. And today they do the same thing when you know there is rain around. So I think this is a big tactical error by Sri Lanka, because you know that whatever the conditions are, it's difficult to bat under lights. Yes, it's difficult to bat under lights, but the lights were on from 3 p.m. Okay, so I don't know if it's that much different to actually batting late at night because it was dark and the lights were on even during the anthems. Secondly, again, as just to repeat myself, it is an advantage when you're batting second and you're not starting your innings thinking you have 50 overs, and then 12 overs in, you're being told you have 20 overs to go. Sorry, only 8 overs to go. That's obviously a disadvantage, right? So
Yeah.
you know that if it's going to rain, you're going to be affected by it. So I think, like, I know I said a lot about the luck and stuff, but if there's anything to blame, it has to be the tactical decision to have a bat first in these conditions when you know it's
Do
going
you,
to rain.
do you think the thing that they thought coming to today was it is very unlikely this match will get on and played, and actually what we want to get from this is batting practice, so we'll just bat first because that means we're guaranteed to have a bat?
Yeah, so I mentioned this to someone in the press box as well because I thought the same. I thought, look, they want to get some batting out of this because, I mean, I wonder if they want to get some batting out of this because it's definitely going to rain. It's definitely going to rain. It's been raining every day and it's not been stopping. I mean, I'm very surprised that it did stop and they were able to get like 2 hours of play. But that is a mistake, no? You can't play a World Cup like thinking like that. We are getting batting practice. You can't play a World Cup like that. No, you have to prepare for the match being played. And how are we going to get a result that's favorable to us? So I think the biggest mistake is the toss.
We've spent months, or not months, we've spent weeks in this show bigging up the fact that we have a home World Cup. And actually, the worst thing that happened for this side is having a home World Cup, because these games have just been so rain affected. And actually, if they'd gone and played in dry Indian pitches, I don't know where they would have played if they would have been dry. But you know, there's obviously parts of India where it would be raining as well. But if it was in India, it kind of almost would have been slightly better, right? Oh man, it's just become such a total disaster, hasn't it?
I think what's disappointing is like people hardly watch. I mean, people outside Sri Lanka don't really follow the team, right?
Yeah.
So for everyone outside Sri Lanka, it's like, oh, these are like the minnows. Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka are the minnows, and Bangladesh are actually showing what we people who follow, who have watched them, we know that they're capable of. They are playing how they have played over the last year. They've had ups and downs, yes, but they have competed like they have competed over the last year or so. So Sri Lanka is not able to show that because they haven't been able to actually get proper games in, right? Like, I mean, India, you can say, you know, they messed up, right? England is the same, but like 3 of the 5 games they've played, this one was rain affected, 2 washouts. I think, I mean, I know I saw a tweet today saying that New Zealand were denied points by the rain. Like, New Zealand has never scored 259 in the second innings of an ODI in a World Cup ever. So it's not a given that they would have chased that total, particularly at the R. Premadasa. It's not a given. I think that was a 50-50 chance, and it probably would have gone Sri Lanka's way if Sophie Devine was dismissed. So, like, it is very disappointing that they're not able to show what they're capable of, or show that form that they have had over the last 2 years in this competition. Because if not for the rain, in Sri Lankan conditions, I think they would have been quite competitive. Maybe not against Australia, but certainly New Zealand and England, they would have been competitive, and South Africa.
What's your sense? Because you're the person, you're the journalist. Obviously, famously, you're Sri Lanka's best journalist, but you're the journalist closest to the women's side. What's your sense of how not so much the team, because obviously they'll be disappointed, but the people around the team, Ramesh and the other coaches and the management, are reacting to what's turning out to be quite a disaster? And kind of supplementary to that, what do you think this means for the way women's cricket is kind of funded by SLC in the medium term?
Yeah, so I think it's not ideal, obviously, because as I said, you know, not a lot of people follow these women's teams outside of World Cups, right? So the World Cup is the chance for them to show what they're capable of. And, you know, not just people outside Sri Lanka, but I think, you know, there would have been a segment of Sri Lankan fans also who were excited to actually see this team in action at home. But when you had this kind of performance at the World Cup, because people are not going to see the nuances, right? They're not going to see that, oh, today's game, like they were like severely handicapped by the fact that, you know, 12 overs into their innings, they're told you have to play a 20-over game. So it's a massive disadvantage. And I'm not saying this because it's Sri Lanka. If it had happened the other way around as well, it's a huge disadvantage to whichever team bats first, right? So I think it will have an impact in the sense it's not great. Like, it's not great for the growth of the game or the interest people have for the women's team. Because I know there were a lot of people excited to come for the Australia-Sri Lanka game. And then once that was rained out, like, you felt like the buzz kind of died down a little bit. Did you feel that way? Because I know a lot of friends who wanted to come for that game, and then once that was done, it was like they're losing. What's the point? You know, that kind of thing. Financially, I don't think there will be a downward, you know, an impact. because obviously this team has been doing well and the support is there. But maybe there would have been an incentive to increase match fees or contract fees or something if they had actually done well, got to a semi-final or something like that.
So it's difficult for me, right? Because I arrived in Colombo the day of the Australia game, so I don't know what the build-up was like to it, and I was obviously quite severely jet lagged, but looking forward to coming to the stadium. And then I came the next day. It seems to me that I think is that there's a Papre band in the stands now, right? Where there wasn't last week, so they've kind of fixed that a little bit. I, when I think about coming to the stadium, apart from the fact that I got to see you and we hung out for a bit, was I think about how loud the PA system was, and when I'm back here, and I'm watching the TV feed of it, I can hear the PA system on the feed, and I'm like, that's an incredibly loud thing designed to deafen people. I can only
deafen you.
Yeah. The hearing aid companies was sponsored it or something. I don't know. And I'm not sure about the enthusiasm. I think I felt like coming into it. So I still think Sri Lanka on their day can beat anyone, right? I think they probably would have beat New Zealand a couple of days ago. I think if we always knew what the three tough games were going to be: India, Australia, and England. Off the back of the India game, when we knew they were rusty, I kind of felt, actually, do you know what? If they get a bit of momentum, they've still. We know, me and you both know that they can beat anyone. They've got all the skills. Our players are as good as anyone else. And we know that there's fighters in our side as well, right? Mentality wise, I think the mentality is really strong in that side. Like they want to win, and I kind of felt if they'd done something against Australia or England, it would have kind of just ignited the whole thing a little bit. Even if they'd got a little bit closer to England than they did, or if they got the win if their game against New Zealand had happened, but then today, where you're like, all right, we can go into whether or not they should have batted first or second, but actually, Sri Lanka as a side to win cricket games, this side needs a little bit of luck, and they just had none of it. I know that's pretty much the first thing I said when we came on, but that Kavisha's first ball today when she bowls, and I was like, that's absolutely plum. Review it, and then goes to umpire's call, and you're like, well, that easily could have gone the other way.
And Chamari's dismissal, right, looked so outside the line, but it was umpire's call as well.
Yeah. So I mean, those are two key moments that just go totally against you. If Chummery's around for get to the point where it rains, and I think she only. I'm trying to look quickly where she got out. She got out at the end of the 10th over, so she has to stick about for an over in 2 balls, I think, or something like that. And then it's the big rain delay, and then she comes in for with 8 overs in front of her. You're like, right, this is a totally different game, right? So it's all like that umpire's call. 2 umpires calls basically change everything, right? If Kavisha gets that wicket, suddenly Kavisha's the kind of player you can have that magic over. But instead of the next ball being even a dot, the next ball's a 4. And that's the moment the game's totally taken away from us. If any glimmer of hope is kind of, for me, the most optimistic Sri Lankan fan in the world, it's shut down, right? And I think it's sad. I feel when I was in Colombo last week, I kind of think the people who wanted to know what the women's team were up to knew that there was a World Cup happening, and the people, much more casual cricket fans, had no idea, and the people who weren't into cricket at all, who will know when the Men's World Cup rolls around in Colombo in February, will know that the World Cup is on in Sri Lanka, didn't know that the Cricket World Cup was on this time around. And I think that's a bit of a shame. I think that's possibly a topic to get into for a different episode of Murali End. But I kind of felt the girls, like last year with the Asia Cup, they could have had that. This could have been another big moment for them. And it kind of would have felt like the Asia Cup was like the kind of, the opening night. And this was the end of, they didn't even have to win it. They just needed a couple of big historic wins in Colombo in a World Cup. And it would have got a bit of momentum and not that they're not heroes anyway, but would have just made them even bigger superstars. I think a lot of this goes right back to why was there no more fixtures after May? Like, you remember that Tri series, right? You were doing the commentary off it at it. We were doing shows after the back of every game. We thought, right, this is it. Like, what's next? Like, feed the beast, feed the beast. The beast is hungry and it's ready for war, right? But
And
instead,
also, if you had watched that Tri series, Sri Lanka were on par with India and South Africa. It was not like they were the third team and it was a given that they would get knocked out. They were on par with those two teams and they ended up making the final, right? So I think that's what I mean when I say like people don't really follow teams outside the World Cup, and then they base their assessment of them is based on what happens here. And what Sri Lanka has had problems with is they've not had the opportunities to actually show what they're capable of. Like if today they had set South Africa a target of 230, 240, let's say, right, and had the 50 overs against South Africa, they wouldn't. I mean, maybe they would have won by 10 wickets. We don't know, but I'm saying like it's unlikely that would have happened, right? Because conditions are difficult. The spinners like someone like Ino Karanavira would have had a much bigger say if it was a longer game. So I think it's a bit, again, what can you say, right? That's the way the game goes, and it's. I won't say anything about DLS or the conditions of play, because at the end of the day, it's about getting a result, right? You want a result. It's better to have a result than to go with the kind of no result. I just want to address some stuff that Stans has sent in.
I think it's Sanuda.
Yeah, because when I was talking about the tosses, why did Sri Lanka chase? Do you think Sri Lanka can chase 130 plus against South Africa if we choose to chase in 20 overs? Yes, I think Sri Lanka can. Will they 10 times out of 10? Probably not, right? And I don't think South Africa would chase 120 10 times out of 10 against Sri Lanka either. But the fact of the matter is, when you choose to bat first, knowing that it is most likely to rain, not that it might rain, it's most likely to rain in the evening, you're basically going in there knowing that your innings is going to be interrupted. But at the same time, you can't be overly aggressive in the beginning thinking you're playing 20 overs, because you have 50 overs in front of you, right? You don't have that certainty. So that's the other one. Like, rain is not something you can control. No, but like, you have to also be practical about it, right? It's rained. I am not joking. I don't know where you are, Sanuda, whether you're in Sri Lanka, but it has rained every single day in the evening. Every single day this week, it has rained in the evening and night. So it was never going to be 50 overs and 50 overs. So when you know that, you have to keep that in mind, right?
Yeah. I want to bring this one up. Snooders said, "Is this the end for Chummery?" I think this is because I was wondering that. I think it's easy to look at what she's done this series or this tournament and conclude that she's kind of in decline. I don't think that's actually the case. I think her performances are actually showing great maturity in ODI cricket. I don't know what you think about it, and you know, Esther, you're the expert on Chummery here.
I hate to say it, but I do think she's beyond her best. I don't think she's at her peak. I think she peaked during those last 2 years. But Chamari past her peak is still one of the better batters in the world, right? Because when she gets going, no one can stop her. And she's such a big threat at the top of the order. So, on the question he's asked, like, I felt like she looked really, really down during that chase. I don't know whether she's ill or she was just disappointed because obviously, Sri Lanka not able to really show what they're capable of. But she looked really upset. I think it'll certainly be her last 50 over World Cup. I don't see her playing another 4 years. But I would expect her to play at least the T20 World Cup next year. at
I
least.
think
But I think if Sri Lanka had done like something magnificent here, she would have retired. Like, I brought Sri Lanka to the top. I'm done.
I think her bowling's quite interesting at this moment in time because she has much more variations than she's ever had, but I think she's a bit not as effective as she used to be. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Or which is
Yeah, I think even the bowling, there was that period where she was like she was just picking up wickets, right? Whether it was for Sri
yeah.
Lanka or in the WBBL, whatever franchise she played, she was picking up wickets. So that's um, not really happening anymore.
I wonder if the bowling there's a lot of data on her now, and actually people know what to do when she bowls.
But
This is a good.
anyway, do you think there wasn't anything special about her bowling? It's just that she was very clever in the way she kind of,
Yeah, but this is what I
went
mean. I
about.
think she's kind of to me now feels slightly ineffective, where she wasn't ever like she was never a world class bowler, but she was a good international bowler because she was effective, right? Um, it where now she's got all the variations, and it's almost like it's too much. And because there was one over, possibly the last over she bowled, I can't remember exactly when it was today, and I was like every time. Well, it like today's a bit of a bad day because there was nothing to bowl at basically after kind of 7 or 8 overs in. But every ball she was so desperate to get a wicket. You're like, she's just trying kind of something new. Where I was like, it's not. Yeah, that was my take. I could be wrong. This is a good question that's come in from Naveen Daresh. Sorry if I
Navneet.
Navneet.
Navneet
Sorry.
Rajesh.
Navneet, sorry, Navneet, if I've mispronounced your name there. I am A, severely dyslexic, and B, because I've been brought up in an English-speaking world, I'm terrible at reading Asian names, which don't have the natural spaces in the middle of them. Anyway, the question is, how many wins are SL realistically looking from now on? What do you think, SD? Two games left. It's got to be 4 points, right? It's got to be all two wins. Though one of them, almost thankfully, I'm grateful for, isn't in Colombo. Right.
Yeah, so coming into this tournament, I think Sri Lanka would have banked on that these two games being the bare minimum for them to win. Like bare minimum, we finish with 2 wins. That would have been what they thought. But since Bangladesh and Pakistan have had much more game time, and at least Bangladesh has looked really, really good. They've really punched above their weight. I don't think it's a given that they're going to come out on top. Even Pakistan, Pakistan's batting is not that great, and I think that's one major flaw that Sri Lanka can look at exploiting. But their bowling's been really good, and Sri Lanka has struggled against their spinners, especially Sadia Iqbal. And Pakistan are pretty, accustomed to the Colombo conditions now. They've used it well for a few games. So I don't think it's a given that they walk away with 2 wins. It could be winless like the last World Cup. Fortunately, they'll have at least 2 points to go ahead with.
Winless. I'm not sure I could how I feel about that. Yeah, Snuda's written winless as well. Oh man, it's a disappointing day. Yet another disappointing day in the office, isn't it?
Yeah.
We should probably wrap this up, SD. Thank you for what.
One big
Go.
positive. We have to say, look at how well Vishmi played today. She had to go after the break. She had to go, and she played so well. So I think like Sri Lanka doing a disservice to her by saying just survive, just survive, just survive. Let Chamari do the run scoring, you just survive. Just tell her we don't care what happens, just go after the bowling and get some runs.
So do you think that's what they're telling her? Is that what they've told her then? Just survive?
I think when she's opening the batting, it's definitely about survival. If you look at the last game against New Zealand, it was just keep wickets in hand, keep wickets in hand, wickets in hand. I think in the past also it's done with an intention of not putting pressure on her. Like, look, let Chamari do the scoring. You just try to rotate the strike. But this is the kid who's brought in the team because she got 400 off 100 odd balls, right?
Yeah.
Let her play how she plays. If she's not good enough and she's not meeting, she's not successful, then you have to make a change. But like asking her to, or like, giving her that instruction to bat slow is not doing anyone any good, right? Because at the end of the day, those are not impactful innings. And it's not really building her confidence either. I think today's knock will definitely give her confidence because she's finally middling the ball.
So when I think of Vishma, I always think of me and you and doing not just this show, but previous iterations of Sri Lankan cricket content as well. Because I think the first game me and you ever did on the first women's game me and you ever did was her debut. And so the question I've got for you, because she's been around for what, 3-4 years now? 4 years? Maybe 3 years? How much do you think she's improved in that time as a player?
You can't say she has, right? Like, I don't think you can say that she has. I think she still looks like a newbie in the team, and that's a problem. Like, I know we talk about age,
Yeah,
but I think I mentioned this in a previous pod as well. Like, just when we look at Vishmi, we say, oh, she's 20 years old, she's playing international cricket. It's all great, right? It's a great achievement. I've never played for Sri Lanka. I don't know what it is. It's a massive achievement to be playing for your country at that age. There's no denying that. But at the same time, she's not an inexperienced player. She's been in that setup for now 3 years. That's great. Like, your question is very valid. Like, has there been improvement? Has she grown from the player? I think she actually looked a lot more like fearless and, that kind of confidence she had. I feel like she's lost a bit of that.
see, I think she plays better at this moment in her career. She plays so much better away from home than she does at home. I think she really feels pressure at home. People aren't privy to this, but me and you are. We see the back end of who's watching what on Murali End, and we can reveal that the most popular person in terms of people who have seen on Murali End, whose content you can see on our channels, is Vishmi. In terms of people watch her, what the clips. We've got 2 clips of her, and people seem to watch it over and over and over again, and just never stop watching it. I suspect I'm definitely way out the loop in terms of what's cool and what's not cool amongst teenagers and people in their early 20s in Sri Lanka. I suspect that she is very front and center of that. And I don't know if the people around her and the people around Sri Lankan cricket are equipped to have somebody or to deal with somebody who's going at that young age, who's going through basically all anonymity. I assume in Sri Lanka is totally gone. Like, I can't imagine she can go anywhere without people recognizing her. Obviously, this happens to almost all our players. It happens to schoolboy cricketers as well in Sri Lanka. But some people have the shoulders to deal with it and can deal with it. And I suspect if it happens to a schoolboy, if it happens to someone in the men's side, it's a totally different. There's a totally different network of things around them to help them deal with it than there would be for it to happen to someone in the women's side. Then that said, I'm only I'm putting 2 and 2 things together because I'm saying I'm not sure. To me, she looks sometimes when she's batting and it's not going well, she looks like she's really not enjoying it.
Yeah.
And you can look at the way her runs at home are kind of panning out. So I wonder if they need to rethink how they manage her, and actually maybe telling her to go out and survive is totally the wrong way of doing it. And actually, it should be just go out and express yourself, do what you want to do. You're in the team because we know you can find the boundary. Go and find the boundary. Because I know I think I made this point last time during the last game show when I was like, she's doing a totally different job to what we thought she was going to do when she came into the side. Though admittedly, a 14-year-old hitting 400 or 127 balls, whatever, is quite dramatically different to facing the best bowlers that England have, right? Yeah. There's another comment that's come in. I think we should probably just finish with this. Harshita's a disappointment so far. Do you know what? I know I say this all the time. Harshita, for me, is the most technically correct batter that plays international cricket for Sri Lanka at this moment in time, across all genders. And I don't think she never disappoints me, because I just, even as long as she comes in and doesn't get out for a duck, which she almost never does at this point, she makes 2 or 3 shots. You're like, oh, that is, it just looks great. I don't know, Esty, am I wrong to be not is Harshita being disappointing?
I think it's very difficult to make a judgment on this tournament, because like I said, they've had 2 opportunities to bat properly, right? Today's game, I don't think you can really count, apart from those who batted in that first 12 overs. But I wouldn't say she's been disappointed, because, obviously it's disappointing that she hasn't got big runs. But I think she's still, the energy she brings, and, even her short knocks, she looks really good. I think that's the difference between her and Vishmi, is that Vishmi looks like she doesn't want to be there sometimes, right? Like she doesn't know what she's supposed to be doing sometimes. I don't think Harshita ever gives you that feeling. She has that assurance about her. She hasn't made runs, yes, but I feel like a good knock is just around the corner if we get a full game at some point.
Yeah, and I did think her knock against New Zealand actually wasn't that bad. I thought that was.
She injected a little bit of pace into that innings, didn't she?
Yeah. Esty, should we wrap it up there? When's the next game? Is it I want to say Sunday, but
Monday.
Monday. We'll be back on Monday. Some iteration of the Murali End will be back on Monday. I might still be crying. And God, another World Cup game against Bangladesh.
Happy tears, right?
Happy tears. Tears of pure joy. You know what I'm like if we lose to Bangladesh in a World Cup.
Well, I'll be there, so
yes.
Please, I don't want to travel and lose, please. Or rain, please, God, no rain.
Did you, just finally before we leave, did you see on the, I don't know if you saw the telly where they showed someone in the stadium wearing a Bangladesh line kind of supporting South Africa, wearing a Bangladesh shirt supporting South Africa? And obviously, look, you're free to support who you want. If you live in Sri Lanka and you feel you can't support the Sri Lanka team, I'm not going to tell you should or shouldn't do what you should or shouldn't do. Everyone's been through a lot on that island, but they got picked up in the commentary by the commentators, and I was like, "You're wandering into a field that you don't want to be in." And we don't also the other thing that was funny that did happen is some of the music that was being played was music I generally thought was banned in Sri Lanka, but again, this isn't the podcast for that. We won't go into that. We'll be back on Monday after the show. Please leave your comments. Please leave your likes. Please subscribe. All that good stuff for us. We'll see you all then. See ya.
It's a Murali End, you're the place to be. Analyze the players and the team. Keep a great company in the stream. It's a Murali End. Welcome to the show. We're here when you're high. We're here when you're low. Some days you're happy, some days you wanna when happy it's we when man it's them. It's the same place, Murali End. Sri Lanka cricket we gon' represent. So tell a friend.